Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today I will be presenting the case of why Melvin Gordon still sucks. That'll be a really easy one to win. The case on whether or not Russell Wilson is the problem in Denver, or if the offense was even that much better with Clint Kubiak. But also, most importantly, I don't think we have much hope as of right now, just because of it's already 10 a.m. At the time we're going live in this one. Typically, if we were going to see this news, it would have broke already, but we're still on Hackett Watch right now. I will say we are on Hackett Watch, just really hoping that we get the news as we're live right now that we all deserve, that we're all hoping for, and that is that Nathaniel Hackett is no longer the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Please, I need a Shefty bomb so freaking bad right now. Just come on. Why isn't he fired yet? I was really hoping I was going to be able to come on the show right now and just be able to talk about how glorious of a day it was that Nathaniel Hackett has been fired. I wish I was going to be able to come on, on there, talk about how Hackett's been fired, and at the same time making memes for the Broncos Instagram account on Hackett too, just because, gosh, dude, come on. If yesterday's game, if Sunday's game didn't mean anything, if that's not going to get Hackett fired, I don't know what will. It's just, dang. If you guys can't, it's it's so freaking annoying, dude. I really want to know what's going to take for Hackett to be gone. I really want to know what's going to take for Melvin Gordon to be benched and just be never given a football in his life, because he doesn't deserve to be on the field with how badly he hurts the Broncos. Even when he doesn't have his hands on the football, he is still a liability. Oh boy. It's such is the life of being a Broncos fan. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Horse Tracks Live on Twitch. We are live on every Monday, 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you're here live right now, thank you so much for tuning in. Or if you're just listening to this on either the recording of this on Twitch after we are off air, thank you so much for that one as well. Or if you're listening to this audio version on any podcasting site, thank you so much as well. If you want to listen to this a little bit later, like I said, the schedules is always going to be the recordings are always going to be over on their Twitch channel, and then also the audio versions of these live streams drop around Monday, 2 p.m. every Monday as well, after we're all done, said and done here. But if you are new to the channel, please go ahead and follow. And been seeing a lot of you guys jump on the bandwagon recently, and I really appreciate that one, whether it be just following or even subscribing as well. It's freaking awesome. And if you haven't done so yet, go ahead and follow us. Social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Mile High Report. And you can find yours truly, especially at Instagram. I'm running that thing. It's been really funny to see your guys' reactions to my latest Fire Hackett post. Yeah, I love how the simplest of posts, dude, if you guys haven't seen, it's just literally just says Fire Hackett, white text on the black background, and that has some of the most likes this Instagram has ever gotten. So it's safe to say I know your guys' opinion when it comes to this Hackett situation. You make yourselves very vocal, and I really appreciate that one. Well, like I said, we're going to take a little bit more in-depth look at the game. I did a little bit of a game recap on the latest edition of Horse Tracks that's live on any podcasting platform. Went live at 6 a.m. this morning, so you can go ahead and listen to that one as soon as you are done here, if you haven't done so already. But I'm going to be rehashing a couple things I said on that podcast, as well as going over some new things that I promised I would do as well. But just, man, once again, the Broncos managed to grab defeat from the hands of victory, and it's just nothing new at this point, and it's just so dang disappointing. This is another game where they were horrible on third down. 3 for 12. 3 for 12, man. Gosh, that is just, it's bad. It's really bad. It's really bad. It's horrible. It's excruciating to watch. I've never seen a team so inept on third down, man. It's like a death sentence. If the Broncos don't convert and do anything on second down, might as well just go ahead and punt the ball. It's man, you know the crazy thing was in this game, I think one of the wildest parts about this game is that they weren't even the worst team on penalty wise. They had 5 penalties for 45 yards. The Raiders had 9 penalties for 98 yards, almost 100 yards on the dot right there. And I guess it only goes to show that that's just how bad the Raiders are as well. It just pisses me off that Josh McDaniels got a win in Denver. Oh my. What do we do as fans to deserve this one? You guys cursed. Is the stadium actually now built on a Indian burial ground? Or are we just forever cursed? I guess so, man. Time to accept reality at this point. But one of the big questions is how much better was the offense with Clint Kubiak? Of course, Hackett announced Sunday morning that he was giving up play calling duties to the Broncos. Coach Clint Kubiak had a little bit of experience with the Vikings there as well. And at the start, off the bat, man, it looked like the Broncos were a totally different team. They managed to score a touchdown on the first drive of the game. Haven't done that for this season and haven't done that for a while. This is just something that's unusual as Broncos fans seeing. We've gotten a few field goals on opening drives, but a touchdown on the first drive of the game for the Broncos offense. That is insane, but that really got our hopes up. But then we saw that big change, but then we saw a lot of the same. We saw the Broncos still being totally just not knowing what the heck to do. They just lose their minds when it comes to the third quarter. The Broncos have scored a total of 12 points all season in the third quarter. Once again, they are shut out in the third quarter in this game, and it's, yeah, shocker. Big surprise there. It looked almost like for a second that Hackett took back the play sheet from Kubiak. It was stupid, man. And it wasn't even just this, too. Let's hone in when it comes to bad play calling. Let's hone in on the near the end of the game sequence, because we had bad calling at the end that possibly doomed the Broncos. I want to see if you guys agree with this one as well. So, of course, we see right before the 2-minute warning that the Broncos, they run the ball, and that takes us into the 2-minute warning. Of course, you know, nothing wrong with that play calling. But then what happens is that coming out of the 2-minute warning, Raiders have no timeouts, and the Broncos are facing, I think it was like a 3rd and 8. They were trying to convert that, and so they go ahead and pass the ball, incompletion. They burn almost no time off the clock, and that gives the Raiders plenty of time to go drive down the field, and they just only managed a field goal, luckily, too. Gosh, Josh Jacobs just gashed the Broncos on the ground and through the air, and it was why can't the Broncos? I swear, Josh Jacobs is just the epitome of a team's kryptonite, because the Broncos can't do a dang thing against them. It is what it seems like. Yeah, but so the Broncos are committed. If the what really should have happened is before the 2-minute warning on the 2nd and 9, what you should do is give the short passes were working tonight, or yesterday. The swing passes were working well. The quick game was working well, and they decide to just run the ball, which is fine. It's fine to run the ball. 2nd and 9. Try to pick up a few yards, put it to 3rd and manageable, make the Raiders have to use, or make the game go to that time 2-minute warning. So what you should have done is, out of that, you are committed to the running the ball. You have to stay committed to running the ball. You have to run the ball again on 3rd and 10, even though you're probably not going to convert it. Go ahead and run a draw play. You know, nothing wrong with that one. And you're able to burn a whole almost 45 seconds off the clock instead of just the 4 that the Broncos did. that is 40 seconds would have changed the game. That probably would have allowed the Raiders to not score, maybe change some things up in terms of their play calling. Maybe they weren't going to drive down the field as easily as they did. It was just and you know, the funny thing was, we're all talking the Mile High Report crew. We're all in our group chat talking about this, and we're all, and I forget who said it. It might have been Tim or something like that. Where before we go into the 2-minute warning, now they said, man, or something along the lines, it's going to be really stupid if the Broncos pass the ball now on 3rd down. And what the Broncos do, they did what we all thought they would because they're stupid, and they pass the ball, burn no time off. And so it was just, we saw some flashes of better play calling. We saw some flashes of different play calling here. But at the same time, it was just a lot more of the same. And it was a lot more disappointment. It was a lot more, man, why? It's the same mistakes that the Broncos are making every week. It's horrible. And it, you know, the funny thing too here is that, so Hackett gives up play calling. And now he is and then he also had the game manager coach of Jerry Roseberg that the Broncos brought in like week 3 or something like that one. So he has a coach for game management, and he has a coach calling plays, and is an offensive minded head coach. What is he doing now? It really makes you wonder, what does Hackett actually bring to the table for the Denver Broncos? It's, like I said earlier, it's insane that this guy still hasn't been fired yet. And it's even worse that he's found a way to lose to Josh McDaniels twice. Found a way to lose him twice. The Raiders have 3 wins against Hackett and the Broncos, though there are 2 of them. It's so freaking baffling, man. So, I guess my verdict on Clint Kubiak is yes, the Broncos are a better team. There's a lot of good that came out from the play calling in this game, at least improvements. So, the Broncos are a better team offensively with Clint Kubiak calling plays. But apparently that still isn't enough, and better isn't good enough, and Hackett needs to be canned. Needs to be canned. That's all. That's all. Just move on from him right now. Win as many games as possible so the Seahawks don't get as good of a pick, because right now they have the 5th overall pick. And just stop with the status quo stuff, man. It hurts. But to address a lot of the comments I saw on Instagram that I've been seeing this year as well, there's been a lot of stupid ones, but also is social media, so you take all those with a grain of salt. A lot of people calling for George Paton to be fired as well. That's stupid. No, 2nd-year guy he's been fantastic in the draft. All right, no, don't fire Paton for this one. That's a stupid thought. Even dumber, I saw someone suggesting that Justin Simmons should also be cut. Huh? I hope you guys watching this aren't as dumb as that comment was. That was something special. But the next thing I want to talk about here is, did Russell Wilson prove that he is not the problem in Denver, and that is instead comes down to the coaching? I believe he did. He had one of his most efficient games of the season, 24 for 31, about 250 yards passing. He had finished the game with a 77% completion percentage, and he was over 80% for a grand majority of the game as well. And he had an offense here that looked like it was a lot more suited to him, looked like it was actually an offense built around him. It was like an offense being made for Russell Wilson, instead of Russell Wilson just being shoehorned into an offense that doesn't work for him, and then you just keep on cramming him in there harder to try to get him to conform to the offense that clearly isn't working. That's all directed to Nathaniel Hackett, you moron. And I really liked the quick game. This is something Hackett's been talking about for a couple weeks, is really getting the quick game going. It only took him to give a play calling for the Broncos to be able to actually get something done there. I like the little swing passes, the little unders, a lot of passes to the sideline as well, and a lot more rollouts, a lot more movement from Russell Wilson there in the pocket. And Russell Wilson looked like he was having a better game. In fact, he would finish this game with a touchdown pass, but he was just a couple inches short of that one, of course, led to the Latavius Murray touchdown there on the opening drive. Russell Wilson really should have had about 250 yards and completed 77. If Russell Wilson had the touchdown, he would have completed 77% of his passes. He would have thrown for 250 yards and a touchdown. Now, that's not Hall of Fame numbers right now. That's not amazing quarterback numbers right now. That's not $250 million quarterback numbers right there. So don't get it wrong. But that is an efficient quarterback. That's a quarterback that's not losing you the game. That's a quarterback that's making a lot of plays for you guys and putting the Broncos in a position to win football games. And especially if you guys are a fan of the whole QBR stat that ESPN uses. I think Wilson finished like under 30 with an under 30 score here, which is weird. If he had that touchdown, probably would have been like in the 50s or so. I just don't like that stat all too much. But Russell Wilson was not the issue in this game. And I mean, overall, I mean, if you don't even want to look at the stat breakdown, if you don't want to look at play-by-play analysis, if you watch the full game, it just looked like this offense clicked better. And all this is still behind an offensive line that is composed of 4 backups, some of them being third stringers as well. And he was only sacked 3 times in this game, so the offense line did do marginally better, but they still weren't that good. Russell Wilson was hurried a lot as well. So if Russell Wilson actually had a real offensive line in front of him, probably would have even had that much better of a game. There's just still so much stuff working against Russell Wilson, and he's still looking all right in this one as well. He also the game was pretty much on his shoulders, on his arm, that it still has a torn lat, by the way, and he wasn't given much help. The receiver still has some drop issues. The running back core was also an issue in this game as well. You have 27 carries and you're not even able to break 100 yards rushing is a running back backfield. So that may come down to play calling, may come down to who you have there in the backfield. Ultimately it comes down to them not doing their job, or doing their job as well as they should have. So Russell Wilson, I will say, and I'm still standing by this, even with the people on Twitter, the people on Instagram saying this, Russell Wilson is not the problem in Denver. He's not necessarily the solution. And he's not living up to the hype and expectations that we're hoping for, but he's an injured quarterback playing in a bad offense, bad system, bad coaching, bad running back core with receivers that are having drops issues, and bad offense line. I don't know if I said that already, but there it is. Russell Wilson's not the problem. We need to give him more time. The Broncos are going to move on to a new coaching staff after this season. At least a freaking better move on to new coaching staff after this season. Russell Wilson is going to be healthy. He's going to have a healthier receiving core. He's going to have a healthier offensive line. The Broncos need to do more help. He's going to have Javonte Williams back as well. There's going to be a lot more going for Russell Wilson next season than this season, which is why he should absolutely not be given up on. We need to chill out on him. The hate towards Hackett and his coaching ability, well deserved. Russell Wilson, we need to have a little bit more patience with him as a fan base. I truly believe that. But someone that we shouldn't have more patience with, and it's something that's excruciating to see Nathaniel Hackett have too much patience with, is Melvin Gordon. Now, if you're tuning into this live stream from the article from milehighreport.com, of course, this is mostly around and regarding the Melvin Gordon quote, and it was a bad one. And it wasn't just the quote, it was the game itself. And it's still, I talked about this, last week, the week before. It's still time for Melvin Gordon to go. It's still time for him to be cut. He's still, it's so bad, man. He's still finding out ways to hurt the Broncos. Even when he's not running the ball or has the ball in his possession, he is still hurting the Denver Broncos as well. And we'll get to his quote there in a second if you haven't heard it already. But why is he still playing? And not only why is he still playing, why is he getting a grand majority of the snaps, especially in the second half? Man, he was all over the field. He was just getting the ball constantly, and it's stupid. I do not understand. Even when Hackett's still not calling plays and personnel, it's still Melvin Gordon being on the field way too often than he deserves to be, or than he should be. And way too often is more than zero, quite frankly. So reasons why he's still playing, it just honestly, my hope at least is that the Broncos don't want to play him, but it's just an issue of warm bodies. Chase Edmonds went down in this game with an ankle injury too, so it's probably just an issue of that. Latavius Murray maybe still getting acclimated to the Broncos offense, possibly. I don't know. At this point, Murray should be the bell cow. He should be the one getting 80% of the snaps, especially with Chase Edmonds not in the game. With Chase Edmonds in the game, Murray should probably be getting about 60%, with Edmonds getting about 40%. So I guess that's one of my guesses here why he's still playing. Or he has dirt on someone. He has stuff on John Elway, maybe Nathaniel Hackett, maybe just the entire maybe the entire league, or on every single owner. Apparently, what Dan Snyder has, what he's come out and say, dude. That's another reason. Another reason I saw it. Apparently, he may be the best pass blocker on the Broncos team. But if Russell Wilson, or excuse me, if Melvin Gordon is the best pass blocker on this team, then the Broncos are in a load of trouble, because he's not good at pass pro. I mean, he whiffed so bad on a couple of these plays. I'm sure you guys know the one that in particular he whiffed on, where that ended up leading to a Russell Wilson sack. So of course, what happens as a running back, for those that don't know, if you already know this, I'm just speaking to the choir, excuse me, but I'm just going to break this down for some people watching that may not know. So when a running back is in pass protection, just like offense, most of the time they read inside out. So you take a look at the A gap, and then you scan your eyes outward to outside the tackle to look like where the hole is, where the rusher is. Mostly for blitz pickup is what the running back is there for. It's you're looking for a blitzing backer, maybe a stunt. And then secondary, you're there if the offensive lineman needs a chip, needs a little bit of help on their block as well. So it's just kind of this read play. There's not one design gap that they're supposed to go to most of the time, and that was in this play as well. So he doesn't see anyone in the middle, so fine. He scans to the outside, but then he goes and doesn't do anything to help the tackle that got beat. So then he goes back inside, where a backer is coming up on a late rush on Russell Wilson, and he's there. He's in good spot. He's in a great spot to be able to make that block, to be able to at least chip him and delay that backer's pressure. But then he's right in front of him, but then instead of looking outside like he needed to, he looks around and turns around and sees to see what Russell Wilson's doing, and then by then the backer comes right off his edge where he just looked away from, and then he misses that block. He literally did nothing but stand there for the play. He did nothing. It was almost incredible how bad that play was. So I don't think it's not excusable, man. It's not excusable. And then, of course, he had another fumble. That's the one thing we all know from this. He had another fumble this game. This one's another one on the goal line that took away a touchdown, that very likely took away a touchdown for the Broncos. And that's what the Broncos were looking good at the end of the first half. They looked like they were about to score a touchdown, be able to go into halftime up with a very sizable lead, and is actually be able to put a second touchdown on the board. That's a big thing here as well. Be able to put a second touch on the board. The Broncos aren't able to do that all too often. So it looks like they were in great position to do that. Melvin Gordon coughs up the football. The Broncos recover it, but then that leads to that field goal attempt that ended up being blocked. So the Broncos should have had 7 points, but instead with Melvin Gordon, they come away with 0. And then, of course, if you didn't hear the quote, here is what he said after the game regarding that fumble. He said, quote, "I don't think that's the reason we lost the game, because we recovered it, but it definitely didn't help. When I do stuff like that, I put myself on a short leash. I get taken out of the game, but I can't be mad at anybody but myself." Okay, so we're going to break down this quote in sections. Now, I did this on the podcast. I'm going to do this again for this live stream. I don't think that's the reason we lost the game, because we recovered it. So recovering the fumble means it's not a bad thing. Recovering the fumble means he didn't lose the game. This is just blatantly wrong. The Broncos probably could have avoided overtime. Because just think what the Raiders have to do in assuming that the Broncos get touchdown here and that the game plays out the rest of the way like it normally did. On that 2-minute drive, the Raiders, instead of having to drive for a field goal, they have to drive for a touchdown. They're down 7 points instead of 3 points. What kind of play calling changes do they have to make? What differences does that put in terms of pressure and stuff as well on the Raiders? This is a game-changing play. This is maybe not the reason the Broncos lost the game. There's plenty of reasons why the Broncos lost this game, but this is absolutely a huge reason why the Broncos lost this game. So that's a stupid part of the quote, and it definitely didn't help. Gosh, that's just such a boneheaded thing to say. Of course, it didn't help. And then he says, when I do stuff like that, I put myself on a short leash. Apparently, you don't. Apparently, you don't put yourself on a short leash when you do this, because you're still getting the grand majority of snaps in this game. You're still getting the majority of snaps in the second half, even after the fumble. And you should have been benched a while ago, but the Broncos are still relying on Melvin Gordon for so much of this offense, so much of this rush game, so much of this offensive attack. And so apparently, no, you don't put yourself on a short leash, because Hackett hasn't done anything with you. He hasn't changed your leash at all. It looks like it's just getting longer is what it feels like. It's stayed the same length. You do not put yourself on a short leash when you make these plays, because I don't know whether Hackett is too cowardly to be able to do anything about that, or if he has that accountability issue. We know that word, accountability, that he loves to talk about so much. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it for this team. Melvin Gordon, if Hackett had any sense of accountability, Melvin Gordon probably wouldn't see the field. And the Broncos actually had a healthy running back field. Melvin Gordon probably wouldn't even be dressed for a game if we actually have a real sense of accountability. Melvin Gordon should be cut from this team, and I don't want to hear otherwise. There's probably better plays that you could pick up on you could probably get another practice squad pickup, and be just as fine if you're the Broncos. Melvin Gordon doesn't do anything but hurt this game. But he even says, I'm not even done with the quote here. The last sentence of the quote, or he goes on to say, short leash, I get taken out of the game. No, you don't. No, you don't. And then he also finishes the quote with, but I can't be mad at anyone but myself. So it's a good thing that he came to his senses that he can't be mad at anyone but himself, because on the field, he wasn't mad at himself. He got mad at the crowd for booing him, for the reaction to him, for fumbling the ball, costing the Broncos a touchdown. Yeah, he got mad at other people beside himself. That crowd response was so justified. So justified, but Melvin Gordon's here smiling, getting mad at everyone but himself. No accountability here. This is just like the epitome of current Broncos football. That's really what this is. It's Melvin Gordon. If you want a definition of how the Broncos have been the last 6 years since they won the Super Bowl, just plaster a picture of Melvin Gordon up, and that's the best way to describe this. It's insane that he hasn't been cut yet. This quote is just along the it's just in a line of just bad quotes from Melvin Gordon, and I just don't know what this guy thinks. I don't know what goes through his head. It's not shocking. It's not surprising. I think the only thing that can match the surprising level of Melvin Gordon fumbling and costing the Broncos again is that the Broncos offense only put up 16 points. So it's death, taxes, Melvin Gordon fumbling the football, and the Broncos scoring 16 points. That's all we have to look forward to in life. Man. Well, there's my rant on Melvin Gordon. I'm sure that's what most of you guys tuned in for. So I hope you got the show that you're hoping for. That's what I got for you, because boy, if you want to talk about grinding my gears, it is Melvin Gordon that does that. But with that being said, what we just have here is we're just going to take a look at the latest and greatest, or not so greatest, Broncos news. It's so lame. I was really hoping we were going to be able to make it to at least maybe have to wait a little bit into the stream, But I was really hoping that while live, I was going to be able to give you guys some news on Nathaniel Hackett and him being fired from the Denver Broncos. But nope. Apparently we're going to make it through another stream without Hackett being fired, and it's just disappointing. Even with all the Melvin Gordon is tone deaf, and the Broncos fans are rightfully fed up with him. Up to now, I haven't seen anything on the latest injuries from the Broncos that they suffered last game. Of course, they had some DJ Jones went down with I believe he suffered a hand injury there, and then you also had some of the news coming out during the game is that both defensive linemen Jonathan Harris and Chase Edmonds, like I talked about, they're ruled out of the game. No injury updates on them that I've seen so far, besides Harris having a knee injury and Edmonds having an ankle injury. Nothing in terms of exact injuries or timetables possibly set for return. So we're just kind of waiting on that just to see if anything changes, to see if there's any hope. But once again, the Broncos are the most injured team in the league, and we can't be too surprised by that one, because it's just what happens. Apparently, just our lives. It's just is what it is, I guess. So it's such is life as a Broncos fan. We see everyone injured. No changes when it comes to coaching or personnel, when there definitely needs to be those changes. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much going to wrap it for us on this edition of Horse Tracks Live. If you're able to make it into the live stream as we were going, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys. Definitely gotten a better turnout and bigger turnout over the last handful of weeks, which is still surprising. The Broncos suck, the Broncos are losing, and you guys are still tuning in. Like, I'm genuinely shocked and just really appreciative that you guys, even with everything going on, you still want to go ahead and support Mile High Report, support the channel, and just yeah, you guys are great. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your Monday to be able to spend with me and everyone else here. It's a lot of fun to be able to come out and talk about this. Surprisingly, my mental state, I don't know about if I'm speaking for most of you guys, but it hasn't severely deteriorated, just because, you know, I just kind of like what I've said to some people, this season just kind of feels like Super Bowl, how I did during Super Bowl 48, where I wasn't angry, I wasn't necessarily like mad and stuff. I was just more sad and disappointed, but just really do be like that sometimes, guys. But if you're new here on Twitch, go ahead and follow or subscribe if you haven't done so already. You could also find, if you're listening to this on the audio version, the podcast version that drops later on Monday afternoons, go ahead, and you're new to the Mile High Report radio page, go ahead and give us a follow on any platform that you're currently listening to us on. You can find tons of awesome articles daily over at milehighreport.com. You could catch a couple of my articles a week. I do the Power Rankings, drops Tuesday, and my overreactions about the Broncos will be dropping on Wednesday. Tons of awesome podcasts daily as well, so just go ahead and stay tuned in. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Mile High Report. Find yours truly running the Instagram as well, so go do that one. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. You guys have been great. The Broncos, not so much. We'll see you next week, Monday, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, for another live stream, or just see you guys anywhere on the whole Instagram and stuff like that. But I hope you guys have an awesome Thanksgiving week, and I can't wait for the next time I'm able to come on to the show and talk about a Broncos win. When that will happen, no idea, but I think it happens at least one more time this season. Is that being too optimistic? Guess we're gonna find out, huh?